Hello, welcome back to Quizzy Monday. Another week has flown by and another night's Quizzy Monday quiz action is over, but the chat is not over. For the next, 45 minutes to an hour, we've got some top-notch chat coming up. I've got back with me Lewis Jones as my co-host tonight, and we've got 4 guests from tonight's Only Connect. So looking forward to speaking to Chris, Yvonne, Sanjay, and Matilda. And then later on, we've got the return of Michael Kohn coming to talk about University Challenge with us and about the student Quizbowl scene in the UK. So lots to look forward to tonight. Before we get going, I just want to make you aware of this video, which we released this week on the channel. Become a multimedia quiz host. Yes, we've been trialing some software, and this is our review. You too can run multimedia quizzes. And while we're at it, let's have a look at the winner of this week's What is Question competition. The answer was Dolly, and this question by Tony won. It was, if Los Angeles is Holly, Mumbai is Bolly, and Nigeria is Nolly, what is Pigeon Forge? Well done to Tony. This week's answer really to a question is shoot. And it was released on Sunday. We've had submissions, and you can now vote on the long list at tinyurl.com/WITQ shoot. Voting is open until Wednesday, at which point we will release the shortlist to try and find a winner. So, parish notices out of the way. There'll be a little more to come later when we have the news from the world of quiz and our nominees for Quizzer and Team of the Week, plus exciting news about the Chinese poetry quiz. Look out for that if you're in China, which we know at least one of our viewers is. So let me now bring on Lewis and our guests. So Lewis, Chris, Yvonne, Sanjay, Matilda. Good evening, everybody. Let's arrange you a bit differently.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello, one and all. Great to have you on. If you're watching along, like Jack is, who was on the show last week, you could put a comment in the chat. And Jack says, "Good evening, Gareth." He's just for me. He's not interested in saying hello to the rest of you. But there you go. No, good evening, Jack. And if you've got any comments or questions, pop them in the chat, and we'll be able to bring them up. So, fantastic match tonight. We've had a great series so far. Lots of really, really good, tight contests, and tonight going into Missing Vowels, no exception. Was it as much fun to watch as it was to play, or indeed was it fun to play, and was it agonizing to watch? How did you feel watching it back?
I think it was more fun to play.
Yeah, agreed.
I think just the memories and some of the questions, I do not remember some of those questions coming up. I don't know about the rest of you, but I looked at it, it was like, oh, I don't remember that one at all. So it was exciting.
Did you impress yourself by knowing stuff on the screen that you didn't know when you were watching it back?
I think the thing I was proudest of was the one with Kerry and Eric and Rice and Isa. I liked that question. That made
Great answer. To sort of visualize those letters moving around in your head to get to the right one, I thought was really impressive.
That was such a good one.
Yeah.
We got close to it and then couldn't figure out how they were moving. So
Yeah.
quite annoying, but yeah, good answer.
We look like Chris is having connection problems, but we will stick with it. Sanjay, no, it's not Sanjay, sorry. Academicals, which at the moment is just you, Yvonne. You put the Isotopes into bat. I'm always interested why teams do this. What was your thinking behind putting them in to get the first question?
I can't remember. I think it was Tom, something to do with Tom and cricket. There was something to do with he often didn't win the toss in cricket, and so I think the fact that he actually won the toss and had a choice kind of went to his head. So I don't think that actually he wanted the choice of ball. No.
Yeah. Because I mean, you don't know what's going to. Yeah, you know what's going to come up on the wall anyway. But I guess Isotopes. How did you feel then having to have the first pick?
I didn't know we had it. I'd gone out for a smoke while they did the coin toss, and the first I knew was when we were sat in the studio and VCM was like Isotopes.
Did you find, generally being on the show, that there was a lot less sort of majesty around the coin toss than you maybe imagined having watched the show before. Like, I thought, maybe it'd be something really official. But it was very much just ad hoc in the dressing room beforehand as someone just flipped a coin. I was surprised. Yeah, the fact you missed it.
I don't know.
Yeah, the fact you missed it shows, I think. I thought it was going to be like the NFL. Like, it'd be sponsored by Doritos. It'd be a whole thing. But no, it just flows by.
Yeah, I think it was actually an app on one of the producers' phones, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wow. It wasn't even an actual coin. It was weird.
Not even a real coin.
They've gone high tech.
What a world.
Chris, I don't know if you're with us. Are you there? You look frozen at the moment.
I'm sort of half with you at the moment. Half with you. We just what things off and try again.
Chris, if you go into your settings and you look at your camera settings, if you drop it down to a lower level, ironically, it sometimes makes the picture better. So, because it's struggling with the bandwidth less. So Harry Heath is saying you at least expect a little ceremony for the coin. I suppose you could always have a filmed one. Yeah, special coin, a commemorative coin.
Yeah, like a really big, like a dinner plate size coin. Water on one side, wine on the other.
Beatrix for 50p.
That would be good. That's maybe the most special coin there is.
Yeah. Catherine's saying the coin toss ought to be televised. Catherine still has COVID, so let's hope you're on the mend, COVID. And Pam is multitasking tonight. Pam is watching the football at the same time as watching us.
Keep us updated. Keep me updated in the chat.
Yeah, let's give us the scores then, Pam.
I think I heard United score. I live really near Old Trafford, and I went to the bathroom earlier with the window wide open.
Big noise.
Heard a big cheer. So I assume that was United scoring.
So Jack is backing us up on the coin toss gate, probably revealing a trade secret here, but they don't even have a real coin.
Just the lies that television, who knew that the facade we have to build, but we're breaking it down. We're being real to the people. There is no coin.
Back in my day, there was a coin. Yeah, I won't talk about the quality of the toss-in, but the coin was real.
I assume Pam's saying it's 0-0 in the football, or she's just doing a little emoji face. Who knows? We'll never know.
So, getting back to the actual quiz, I guess one of the things I'm always interested in is what makes somebody go from watching it on their sofa to deciding we're going to put ourselves up for ritual humiliation on national TV. Sanjay and Matilda, what was behind the thinking from your team's side of things?
I wasn't in the original lineup. They were supposed to have their friend Keith, and I can't. You were supposed to, the three of you were supposed to be on it in 2020. What year is it?
Yeah, COVID year. And then Keith couldn't make it due to COVID, and then for the next year couldn't make it because of the filming dates. So we had to fully reapply. So it's been a very long time coming.
Was it worth the wait though, Sanjay, to finally get there?
I think in a way. I'm glad we did it with Tilly as well.
We'll take it away. Keith, do one.
I just wanted an excuse to hang out with Angus and Sanjay. So I don't get to go. I don't go out. I've got ME, so I don't go out much. So it was a really nice reason to go somewhere and see my friends. I'd love
drink really cheap mojitos.
That was nasty.
Eat Haribo in the green room, all the classics. Yvonne, Chris, you're back with us. A different question for you, I guess. You're all teachers at the same school. What the hell are you thinking going on? I mean, back in my day, that's just a recipe for life to become a nightmare at school, or maybe not. But do you have those considerations when you think about going on? We better do well, otherwise the kids will X, Y, and Z.
A little bit. But the kids were so excited when they found out we were going to be on the telly.
Are they big watchers of the show in general?
What is it? What is the programme? And then you try and explain it to 14 and 15-year-olds. They just were like, what? So we ended up showing them, we showed them Puzzgrid.
Puzzgrid, I showed them a clip of I think the first episode from the last series where it was like easy questions. And they were like, what? What's going on? Why would it be that? Why are you going on that? But No, it was.
But they did think it was really
yeah,
cool.
A
They
lot of
were
them were
quite
like,
excited
"Will
about
you
it.
tell us when it's on?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we'll tell you when it's on. It'll probably be on the hall when we get back."
It has already been put on the school Facebook page. They did give us a shout out today to say, just remember, watch Mrs. Corbishley, Mr. Jackson, and Mr. Kelly on the telly tonight at 8 o'clock. So
Of course, we
if
should say
anyone's
that
missed
Tom-
it, they can iPlayer it.
Tom has now since left the school as well. He left at summer, so he was safe in case.
Was that a result of what experiences you had on the show? He just couldn't work with you anymore?
It's an extreme reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got to get out of here.
I like to think not.
But you don't sound sure, Chris.
Sam, who was on last week, says, I can categorically say kids do not watch Only Connect. I guess it depends how much warning you give them in your particular school.
Well,
Gerard.
one of my friends has a son who's just finished our year 11 and an older one who was year 11 3 years ago. And she sent me a photo of the pair of them watching us on the telly. So that was quite cute.
Of course, obviously, the next round, the next one that we're in, is likely to be on during school time, which will be the interesting one, where we go back in the next morning.
What's your timetable like on Tuesdays? I'm hoping for a lot of sixth form on Tuesdays.
Depends how the episode goes, doesn't it?
This is how out the loop I am. I hadn't actually twigged that it might be summer holidays. So there you go. I should have known by the noise next door. But anyway, the quiz. There was indeed a quiz. And it was a good scoring round, the first round. Some great answers. The A team. I mean, 80s nostalgia. That just put a big fat smile on my face. But you both got your first questions right. Does that settle the nerves a little bit when you're off the mark and you think at least we're not going to make history as the first team with 0?
Definitely.
Yeah, massively. But when the picture of Matt Murdock came up, and I knew it, and I was like, okay, I thought an actor, and then it was, I can't read music, but Tom and Yvonne could, and it was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, we both went its face, and you went, aha.
Yeah. Great team solve there. Lots to bring together. But really, really well done.
That was great because I just said, "Oh, that's Daredevil," and I didn't go as far.
That's
as
all you need to know.
Yeah.
Isotopes, how did you feel drawing the music straight away? Are you fans of the music question? I know it has sort of a fearful presence on the show often. I quite enjoyed them myself, but how did you feel getting that straight away?
I think when the first clue came up, it was the first clue was a bit of like, oh God, this is not.
I'm still not sure what that first piece was. It just sounded like lift music.
It's called Brazil by somebody, but I can't remember who.
I loved it.
Yeah. But yeah, by the time Sash came on, you could tell that you can sort of tell that someone next to you's their cogs are whirring. So it's like, right, okay, Angus is doing that. He's got that there, and then he got it. Didn't get the share in one, but that's maybe not that
probably
bad.
to your credit.
You're fine. Yeah, definitely.
Although it is obligatory to say Ecuador is Ecuador when you're referring to that particular song. And but South American country A team. There was some great answers, but in the middle there was two that neither of you got. It was the something's general and the dingbats. Do they come into the category of once you know what they are, you're kicking yourself?
Do you want to know a really interesting thing as well is that we filmed that on the weekend of Lineker Gate. So when Match the didn't come with the presenter. So on the car ride home, we definitely knew who Tim Davey was. So yeah, one of those things.
And that is the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon.
Yeah.
We were kicking ourselves on the Jack in the Box question, and it wasn't even our question.
Yeah.
And it was afterwards it came over. I thought, we have no idea on this at all. And then as soon as she said it, it was like, oh, we should have been
so
looking
obvious.
for a word. Yeah.
Because it's classic puzzle, isn't it? It's classic dingbats. So, but you have to have your mind in that space. And as soon as I saw BoJack, I was thinking BoJack Horseman, and that was the only way my brain went on that. And it was
a good bit of construction, clearly intended to throw people off the scent, and it definitely worked. I didn't get it at home.
Used to seeing those like on a quiz sheet for a pub quiz where they're like very clearly stylized with like
in a nice little box. Yeah, definitely.
really signposting it.
Yeah, but it was a good round. I loved the I think Isotopes you picked up for a bonus the young of the animals having the same name, and then it brought up Puggles, which just is that's an evening's
ridiculous.
worth of googling right there.
They're
Image
so
search.
cute.
Oh, so cute.
It's one of those things where it felt immediately bad for stealing the point, but then Yvonne's face lit up when Puggles came up.
They make my heart so happy.
I was the biology teacher, so I was thinking far as soon as it was echidnas and platypus, I was like, oh, monitoring, it's got to be something. What's funny is a lot of the friends on WhatsApp sent me a message to go, she was quite harsh to you at the end of that, Victoria. And I said, oh no, that actually was a pickup where later on they came back and just said, I think you need to clarify why Chris isn't correct because everything is linked. But, that was thinking too much into my biology degree and not enough about animal names.
And that is one thing that people often don't realise because it does appear like it's played straight through, and for the most part it is. But every now and then there will be, a stumbled over piece of dialogue by Victoria or whatever that they will just re-record thereafter, and in Only Connect is probably less problematic. In a show like Mastermind, that can completely knock you off your stride when the presenter just mumbles something and you don't really hear it. But they do those little pickups, and they are quite careful as well to make sure that your answer isn't correct. So did you get a sense that they did a little bit of sense checking, neg checking about that answer?
No, I think it was just, the expression on my face knew that I didn't know what it was. I know what links clue 1, and I'm hoping it applies to the others, but they just, I think it was coming back to go, oh, okay, somebody writes it and says technically it's this, that, everything. That was the one that I discovered Puggles as a result, which is we didn't cover in biology.
Gerard saying, I Google Puggles and get 90% pug and poodle hybrids.
Yeah, they're not so cute.
No, so there you go. No. You've got to be careful what you Google. So 4-3 after the first round. So you're both going to be feeling, his team pretty happy with that. You got some good answers. Oh, we have a guest. Sanjay has.
We have a cat. This is Maisie.
Is it Maisie?
It's Maisie's tail anyway.
Always welcome to have the pets on the show. So 4-3, you're feeling good. Round 2 sequences. I have to say, one of my favourite sequences of the series so far was the Wham Bam Thank You Ma'am.
Better than the Pina Colada one was.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I really like that one. I know it was just a good. It was just a good round all round. I was impressed by as we said. So I think it was the Academicals who picked up the bonus on the was it Eric and Rice and whatever one. Just trying to work out, even if you know it's anagrams, work out what the sequence is.
That is all down to Yvonne, that one, because I remember I have no idea what is happening here. I couldn't hear what Yvonne was saying. Tom buzzed, and Yvonne got it. And when she said it, I thought, I don't understand why it's this.
Your face was quite funny, actually. You were like, what?
Explain what was going on. Oh, okay, that's very clever.
When something is going over, I mean, I don't know how close you felt like you were to that, but when it goes over, you kind of going, oh, please don't get it, please please come out with some really spurious but humorous answer.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, I think you probably got the answer anyway, Yvonne, but I was there I probably shouldn't have given so much away if I didn't know the answer. The gamesmanship was not correct from my end, but yeah, I think you're more kicking yourself for not getting it as opposed to hoping nobody steals it, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great second round. Lewis, anything jump out to you on round 2?
Really loved that one. The Wham Bam Thank You Ma'am was a great question, but I also think you guys as a team did really well to to come up with ideas for each of the bits and then to make it all formulate together was really good.
I feel like that was mostly Angus.
And you can see his brain worried, but you were talking about it, and this game is all about conversation. You can't do it alone. I'm sure he needed to speak, and you guys need to speak to make it happen. For the 3 points on the Lego logo was very, very good.
That was so pleasing.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, clearly.
There's a lot of Lego in both our houses, isn't there, Chris?
you can see some just over here.
So that fell very nicely.
I've got a Millennium Falcon up there.
Yes.
Hey! But it was the specificity of that answer, because it was like, from the second clue, okay, this is Lego. But then it's being able to visualize that logo and being able to kind of, I don't know if they'd have just accepted the Lego logo as the answer. I'm sure it probably would, but you just explain the sequence properly.
I wondered if they would, and in my head I was like, I can't fully work out the Lego logo, but there's got to be 2 more stages. And I thought, there must be a black outline. There must be a black outline before the word Lego is written there. So just because it's just there in front of you, don't think about it. But
that's it. We see them every day, don't we? But we just don't necessarily think about all the details they're in. But you really explained it well. And just respect, not for going the Lego logo. There are some people, particularly in the Connections Online Quiz League, which I do host, who will just go, I'm going to start with the broadest possible thing this answer can be. And then you prompt them and they just like inch in every single time. I am talking about Richard Aubrey. It's 100% Richard Aubrey. And it's tiring. But you went straight for it. It was really, really good, Chris. And then I thought both teams pretty unlucky with that. To go to that sort of question, then to the one about legislatures, which I think was a really... I think I guessed 660, so I was 10 off. I just still got it wrong. How did it feel about then having a question where you needed that exact specificity following that? Because that felt really tough. It felt like a change. Jack, who was on last week, he says he got 5 points on it though. So
I got the connection after the first one, and I was saying to the lads, I was like, "How many seats?" I was like, "It'll be blah blah blah," and I was like, "How many seats at Westminster?" And they just weren't listening to me. You and Angus were having a little chatter away amongst yourselves about God knows what, and I was just sitting there getting increasingly irate. How many seats at Westminster? 600 and something. That's the answer.
Yeah, we were miles off.
We were listening to Matilda.
but the answer you gave, I think, my reading of it was the amount of seats the Conservatives got for their 80-seat majority. It felt like, because you said 365,
we said,
which would be about
logic to it,
which would make an 80-seat majority, which is probably the thing that triggered in the mind.
Well, I have no idea what Angus was doing in his head. In mine, I was trying to figure out how many was left over, which was even worse. Yeah. That was an example of bad communication for sure.
Yeah. But I think that was gettable.
Sorry.
But you have to know 650.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know 650, you could be there till the cows come home, can't you?
Yeah.
And I loved the last one on the round, but the way that that Vicky didn't think you knew it, because it was like the 3 Mississippi, and then it's like, kind of doubting that you could actually give an explanation. That must have felt pretty good. We could go, no, it's actually double letters.
That was quite satisfying, but it was one of these kind of, is it that really? And then you have this mental block about it, like, have I actually spelled it correctly in my head? Is it actually the 2 lots of double S's and a double P? And
I think because you were being really thorough and methodical on that bit, we were like, oh, we might be able to steal this one because you're leaving it quite close to the end. But no, unfortunately.
It's that hope that kills you. Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
It's psychological warfare, that's all it is.
Well, it's psychological warfare, and say at the end of that round, 6-11 to the oh god, I keep forgetting your name. Hang on, Academicals. I've got to think of Hamilton. Right. Okay. So 6-11 to the Academicals. Talking psychological warfare, Chris, when you were off, I was asking about the decision to put the Isotopes into bat so that you could then have the first wall. Regretting that now after seeing that wall?
Well, I mean, after the wall, but I think possibly, it was more because it was our first game. Let's get them on the first question, and then we can sort of settle into it a little bit. And they got the music question first, which I'm not sure if we'd have got. But I suppose let them pick the wall, but they could have picked either wall, you see. But it was, it was telling my friends on the WhatsApp. They were like, "Oh, well done, you're in the lead." They're like, "Yeah, turn off." Stop
the count. Yeah. It was a tough one, but made tougher by the fixation with chemical elements.
I regret not stopping the boys from going down that road sooner, but I had no other road to go down. I was like, I have no idea what's going on here other than French painters.
And then just too late, he spotted the girls' names.
That for me was the worst bit, is where we spotted the girls' names and realised there wasn't time to go through them. Like we suddenly saw Ruth.
It was agonising watching it, knowing that you had the three and just going, Ruth's there.
Yeah,
and just
I think you can see my hand go to the button to press Ruth, and it comes out, and I was like, there it is, it's up there. But it was just once I saw the chemical elements, that's all I could see.
That's all you're going to see.
Yeah. In the cinematic remake, in the cinematic remake of it, there'll be slow motion of as he reach for the button, and at least the counter will be ticking down, and it will. And
then also you had that horrid Shakespeare musicals group, which just felt for round one super rough. Yeah, it really fell for you.
I had to Google I had to get Tom to explain to me what that clue was afterwards. I was like, I know West Side Story, but that's Romeo and Juliet. I don't know what the other ones are. I mean, if that had been the last four, I wouldn't have worked out the connection between them. Let alone pick them out of 16 on the wall.
It was just one of those ones that requires that extra level of abstraction to get it all together. Seemed really, really rough, and I felt very much fear there. But the good news, I don't think it seemed to phase you that much going into the final round, which was good to see. And then Isotopes, your wall. How did you feel about it? Stuff that obviously hilarious that you were given a red herring to do with your team name and you did not see it even slightly.
I think Angus says Seymour Skinner quite audibly because Victoria pulled us up afterwards and we were like, we definitely mentioned it and just glossed over it.
But then didn't follow it up,
Yeah. Well, first things first, I think we're kind of glad we didn't get your wall because that was savage.
But it did set us up for a grandstand finish. But it was nice. And for me, again, more 80s nostalgia. Mrs. McCluskey from Grange Hill. That's my vintage.
No idea. What is that? No idea.
Yeah, Lewis.
Grange Hill's not our forte.
I did Grange Hill. It was great.
Yeah, exactly. Just, back when we had, only 2 channels that showed anything watchable for anybody under 18. It was good. No, I thought that wall... There were some good red herrings in there. The livery company's one. There was some good red herrings with pewterers, even chancellors. You could have thought, but it was it was a nice wall, and it set us up nicely for a grandstand finish. The 13-13. Now, Academicals, you knew you hadn't had a good wall, so you knew that there was a possibility that this would be close, I guess. Isotopes, on the other hand, you'd gone in to that behind, 5 points behind. What was your thinking going into the buzz around? And were you thinking, okay, we've got to assume that they've also got 10 points, therefore we've got to go for it?
Yeah, we knew that because we got 7. We were like, well, the most they can be ahead of us is 8. So we just have to go and basically just completely wipe the missing vowels round. Then because you only find out the scores just before you start the missing vowels round. And I can remember locking eyes across the room and just this cold air. I was like, oh my god.
Just like, oh no, it all comes down to the buzzer. And you're all younger than me.
I remember walking, I think when we were coming back in, and I had just heard them say about the fixation on the bits of churches, the pew and stuff. So I sort of knew that they hadn't got a full 10. And I was like, oh, well, they've got something, but has it gone badly wrong? There was no way of knowing that. And then as you say, that the score comes up 13-13, and then suddenly it's all happening.
squeaky bum time, as they would say, just across the road from Matilda at Old Trafford. And somewhere down the line, I kind of lost count. I was like marking who got what, and it felt pretty even to me watching it. I was quite surprised by the margin at the end. I thought it was only going to be 1 or 2 points, but you must have felt right in it. You were trading blows all the way through that missing vowels round. You must have been pretty tense to be playing that.
Yeah, I think the Isotopes were really, really quick on the buzzers, and that's what sold it, because it was really frustrating. I knew most of the answers, but I wasn't quick enough. I mean, we said afterwards we were half convinced that you were pressing it the instant it came up and just hoping you could get it, because you were so quick. And then watching it back on the telly, we're like, oh my gosh, it doesn't come across that quick on the TV. They put in pauses. What are they doing? Well, they took away your moment of glory and how quick you were.
That is one of the classic frustrations. Yeah.
Do you think it felt like a factor? Because I suppose with the fun hook line thinker conceit, they're all quite short ideas, right? Yeah. Oh, you're welcome, Yvonne. Oh, joke in your episode.
and then it was fish as well.
Oh, yeah. It was a lovely conceit. But did you think that because that resulted, at least in those first couple, with quite, not big, sometimes it's you're trying to work out a pun, or you're trying to combine pieces of information, or it's a thing and a thing. Did you sort of in the moment realize, these are quick, they're ones you can buzz in really quickly on, because they are just going to be straight description of the thing that it says?
So I had in my mind, for example, Captain Hook, and then I saw it up there and I pulled out just as I was going for it, because there was a bit in the middle. I was like, oh no, that's not right.
He's got a first name.
He has got a first name.
Yeah, when it said hooks, I was like, right, Captain Hook's going to be here, and I'm gonna wait for Captain Hook, and that was going to be my moment for the thing. It's interesting actually. So Tom, our team captain, at the end, he just said, he's like, I knew every one of those, but I couldn't press the button in time. And I think he said, I next time I just want to press it and guess. Which, but yeah, because there is that, people had said, but there is that pause. But like the Isotopes were so fast. So fast.
It's like it's up, bang.
Yeah. It's hardest game in the world. Buzzer quiz, hardest game in the world.
This is, I think, did you like, obviously, we all had more than one episode. Did you find later on you were doing a bit more experimentation with the buzzer? Because I found it, certainly like by our second episode, I was going, well, I can depress this quite a bit without going all the way. Because it's not like a little quick button, it's like a proper plunge.
Yeah, it's quite a big
really
button.
Get in, which I was really surprised by. So there was later games where I was going, if I just sort of hover this just above what I think is the biting point, I can hopefully just have. Didn't work. We'll see. But
I got told off for smacking it too hard. I think on a later
they should
episode.
have a more robust buzzer, Matilda. It's not your fault.
And then after that, I was really tentative. That's what I'm blaming it on.
How lucid you were to experiment at the time. Like, we were just freaking out, trying not to smash the table over.
Just the kind of guy he is. Well, Isotopes, you won, a very strong performance. But Academicals are also a performance to give you confidence going into your next do or die match. So it was very, very enjoyable. And hopefully we'll get a chance to speak to you about the next matches. But for now, I want to wrap up by asking you what your champagne moment was of the episode. So your favourite moment can be anything. Let's start with Sanjay.
So Tilly had previously answered Hook of Holland, all these like great geography questions. Angus came through with a lot of philosophers. And the only thing I buzzed in on was fish finger sandwich. we know. I know my wheelhouse. Stick to it. Sell it.
Absolutely, take the win. Brilliant, Matilda.
Mason-Dixon. I don't know. Probably Mason-Dixon line in the missing vowels, because I don't think anyone else actually buzzed on that.
Nice.
Or
that was
nice. It wasn't on the moment who was quicker. It was definitive. I buzzed, and I was.
I can remember turning to you and going like, "Ooh!" I'm so impressed.
Excellent. Chris?
I think it's got to be describing the Lego logo. I think being able to just seeing a question that was, can you describe the Lego logo to get yourself 3 points? So that was probably the highlight for me. That was my level of question.
Fantastic. Loved it. Yeah, that was a great answer. And Yvonne?
Mine's not even a question. It didn't even make it onto the programme. But Victoria told me off camera that she liked my tights. And that made me quite happy because I had tights on that one leg's pink, one leg's purple. And they were meant to be the lucky tights, but they failed me. They're one of my favourite pairs, and the kids at school really like them as well. So that just made me happy.
No, that's great, and it's those little interactions as well, which are quite nice to kind of make the experience, don't they? Duncan, I've never had a fish finger sarnie. What, Duncan?
What's wrong with you?
Yourself out.
So I mean, tomorrow, Duncan. Tomorrow, treat yourself.
They make vegan ones now, so no excuse.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
Yeah,
I've got a great recipe. Message me, Duncan. I'll share my recipe with everyone.
Oops.
Just quickly, one of my other favourite moments actually was meeting the Isotopes, and meeting the Isotopes and our head of physics going over to them, Tom, and saying, "Oh, are you guys physicists, not understanding the Simpsons at all?"
Nice. Hoping to find common ground, and then it's the Simpsons, which they get everywhere in quizzing. So no, well, fantastic. I mean, I think my favourite moment was along with Catherine's, which was the wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I didn't get it for 5. I just loved that question. Lewis, favourite question?
Just a reminder, I have had a go at the Isotopes about this in the chat, but for was it literally the last question to be clam chowder, and a team of Simpsons fans did not go chowder. Is absolutely criminal. Great. Lovely teams. It was a great episode. I think I'm going to go for the A team answer as my highlight of the show. I thought it just so many different elements going there. Really, really good.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Yvonne, Chris, Matilda, Sanjay. We look forward to your next episodes, and hope we get to chat with you about that. Well, now you can go off and enjoy, looking at the message requests on Facebook and all the tweets and all the other messages that you will have had over the course of the night. But thank you so much for coming on. And while you these Simpsons people, they get everywhere.
I'm never going to live this down. Never going to live it down.
And so while you do that, we are going to just play a couple of quick videos. You've got about 40 seconds, and then we'll be back. But thank you all for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gareth. Night.
Huge thanks to our community of All Things Quiz members. Your support helps us to keep this channel going. It pays for essential running costs. Now, if you want to become a member of All Things Quiz, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/allthingsquiz. And from £3 a month, you not only get to support the work of this channel, but there are a range of member benefits available, including our monthly quiz. Hope to see you soon. Oh, hang on. If you like what we do here at All Things Quiz, then please make sure you click the subscribe button. Please also click the like button. That helps YouTube to recommend us to other people like you. You can also share our videos with others and click the notifications button to make sure you're alerted whenever we release a new video. Well, that was slick, wasn't it? Nobody spotted the join.
Outfit.
And on that bombshell, let us welcome back to the show, Michael. Hello, Michael. Good to see you again. How have you been, Michael? You've been gallivanting around the world. You've been playing classical music for the masses. How's life been?
Yeah, it's been really good, thanks. But yeah, sorry, Gareth has asked me if I can come on for a few weeks, and I've had a wildly different excuse each time. But finally, here I am.
No, you are entitled to have a life. We all had restrictions for quite a long time a couple of years ago. So no, it's brilliant to see you going out there and doing some great stuff. Let's talk about University Challenge before, and I want to move on and find out a bit more about sort of the UK Quizbowl student scene. Tonight's match, probably, I think it's the first time the series has been a bit of a one-sided affair. Michael, what did you make of tonight's episode? Can we learn anything really beyond the fact that Emmanuel were a bit merciless?
I think they were a good team. I just think they got off to a good start, pressed the buzzer very quickly, and I think Jesus looked a little scared and maintained that way for a lot of the time. I think my mum certainly thought about my team, but I've noticed with a lot of younger teams that it happens quite a bit. There was a Gonville and Keys team last year that I predicted would go very far, and they lost in the first round. And I think they were just very young and just inexperienced, and just when it came to being on TV for the first time, you don't want to look like a fool. So
yeah. Whereas after you've been on a little while, you don't care about looking like a fool. You just no. I think that's valid. It does feel like the teams are younger though this series. They make a big thing of saying the average age is, and today we weren't even 20. One of the teams, it was.
Yeah, I think it was just under 20.
Mostly it's around 21. Yeah. So there are a number of things about the series that feel like they're reverting in a way back to kind of more classic University Challenge, younger teams. And tonight I felt it was, oh my word, Harry. Worst night for Jesus is Good Friday. I'd expected that from Gerard. But yes, it felt like a little bit of a reversion because the subject matter tonight felt quite, the word I was looking for earlier was conventional. It was like there was lots of science, there was maths, there was geography, there was architecture, there was classical music. There wasn't a lot of the kind of more slightly out there subjects we've been getting in the last few series. But it's the first episode I felt like that this series, where it's felt like, this could have been a set broadly that had been played any time in the last 20 years. I'm trying to think if there's anything terribly contemporary. I'm struggling.
There was a bonus set on football that I thought was quite interesting, like the names behind teams. But most of it happened in the bonuses, which means if you're waiting for it to come up as a start, it wasn't going to get you anywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bit of a shame, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did like that football set because it was one of the few ones where I could actually chip in. But I did. Sorry, go on, Lewis.
I thought what you're talking about, Michael, about them being young and being scared. Obviously, totally get that, and then to have that in face of a really good Emmanuel team who they did some scary things. I thought some of the speed on the buzzer. I'd have been taken aback by that age. Not just the experience, but is it Harrison who had so many absolutely lethal buzzers where he was just 3 or 4 words in. Had a great show in general. It was I think one of the best performances we've seen so far this season. I thought he, when you're up against someone they just seem on it. Their teamwork was really good. Their discussions were really good. They were all coming from different places, different backgrounds, and they were bringing it all together. It was a really good team performance. So shame that we won't see that Jesus side again, I assume, unless the rest of this first round goes very strangely. But I think we can learn something from that there were some really strong answers on a variety of topics from that.
Yeah, I was going to say there've been, I think now two or three people who've racked up a lot of starters, but I think this is the first time it's someone who you have no idea when they're going to buzz. Like I think it was the Christchurch captain last week was buzzing a lot towards the end of the question, and it's just like there's like a lot of different subjects, but he's quite like what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It'll come to me. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Like you've no idea what this guy is.
Real range.
It felt like there were, because I'm looking at Harrison, and he was brilliant. I think 9 starters. I think he got right. There are a couple of adjudications which felt a little bit on the harsh side, but maybe that's me not understanding science. I mean, he said something like Fourier expansion, and it was something like Fourier transition, which perhaps that's fine. And then there's the Vienna School classical music starter, where he said he wanted a 3-word answer, and I wondered whether a prompt might have been in order at that point, but it felt a little bit harsh because and then he didn't actually give the answer, so we didn't understand why it wasn't right.
So I think I'm sure if it was history or something I knew less, I'd been like, oh, sure, give them the thing. But if you're talking maths and classical music, very much my area. So the actual answer was the second Viennese school, and that's why it wasn't allowed. And the maths thing, Fourier expansion is probably, I don't know what he was going for, but there's a thing called a Fourier series, which is probably what he was thinking of, and a Fourier transform is a different thing.
Right. Okay.
So
fair
it's unlucky.
But
they knew what was going on in both cases. But.
Yeah. Or kind of reaching for it. And you've only got a matter of seconds or fractions of seconds to kind of reach for that precise answer, and you might have one of the words and you've got to try and bring it out. But it was watching it, I guess, I think for me, not being a scientist and not being well schooled in classical music, I would like to understand why something is close but not right.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to have that kind of that understanding. Pam is saying, I expect someone was telling Amol in his ear, I'm sure you're right, or on his massive screen that he has in front of him.
I saw someone say that it looks like a giant piece of rotting cheese on his desk, which I think I'm going to not be able to unsee now.
Yeah.
Chris has brought up another adjudication, but I think we've seen a few of these. Very harsh on the one where they wanted the adjective. That was the stigmatic, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think also the thing is, when you're under the lights, you're not really thinking about, I don't know if you agree with me here, you're not really listening to the beginning of the question where it says we want 3 words. By the time you're buzzing, you've forgotten what the start of the question
Definitely.
is.
It's very hard. That concentration, there's something comes along that's going to take your concentration to try and work out, at which they did, they got the answer, really, because they got the right thing. You're right, Gareth. I think a prompt situation probably might be fairer. I think that's what you'd see in most quiz in this country. You'd see a prompt in those sorts of situations if it was to happen in a league game or in a mimir. Maybe would you think that would be prompted in a QB game, Michael?
I think probably something like that would
be I think it would make sense.
Or you can always challenge it.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I think I think that's maybe a shame, because you want to see knowledge rewarded, right? And that's and they were there with those pieces, so that was maybe a shame. But again, I think we're seeing so many new things with this era that they do seem those decisions do seem to be quite sharp, and I suppose it helps with the pace of the game. There's less slowing down with Amon having to explain things. So maybe if it would be the sacrifice, because I think the pace has been so strong and that's been the real thinking. Yeah. Maybe that's okay. But you're right, Gareth. I think there's a sense that sometimes it's something that I don't know about, and I'd love an explainer. I'd love to know exactly why something's not been given.
I don't know whether it's going to improve as he settles into the role, but I think you're absolutely right about these bits of information he's adding. I don't think he's got it quite right, because he was like, I think it was after the Max Weber started, he gave the name of the essay that this one quote came from, and to the best of my knowledge, it's not an important essay at all. Whereas he's like not giving the answer to the question that goes dead, or there were some things where I wanted to know more.
Fatima's in the chat. Hello, Fatima. To be fair, you can protest on University Challenge, but they obviously don't make the edit, which is a good point. I guess the one thing you want, above all, is that the adjudications are consistent. So they're either all brutally hard and, you have to give exactly what's on the card, or you always have latitude, or you always prompt. But what you don't want is, certainly within a game, for them to treat an answer one way and then somebody else's answer another way. That way leads to madness and complaints and unfairness. So I guess if they're being strict, nobody can ever say they're wrong in what they do. But yeah, so Emmanuel, strong winners. Jesus, we just didn't get to see the best of them, which is a shame.
Love their nail varnish.
Well, yeah,
lovely touch.
Emma with the green nail varnish, wasn't it? So good work.
Well, I thought that was actually really nice at the end that he was having a chat with them on camera, and I think one thing that this series, at least the first few episodes, I thought it was better tonight, but I noticed in the first few episodes that because they've got rid of the earpieces that came along with the screens, we heard less communication from the teams, and therefore they got less of a chance to actually show their personalities rather than just hitting a buzzer and then going quiet. So it was nice that they got to show that side of them even like after the gong had gone.
Yeah, Duncan is saying make UC, well, he says UV, but he corrects it later. UC 45 minutes and have VAR, so we
Like
can.
skip.
Yeah, because
Duncan in the booth.
Quiz needs more controversy. We don't have enough in the game.
I remember several VAR things in some of my episodes, and they're not very interesting to watch. I remember they start debating whether Ionic was the right answer. There was something to do with architecture, and Warwick had said a word form, and they looked for 20 minutes on the internet to check whether that word form appeared anywhere. And so we were just sitting there for about 20 minutes.
I mean, at least they checked, I guess. But going back a little bit, Michael, you've played on the show in the latter years of the Paxo reign. You've coached a champion team as well in the back end of the Paxo reign. When you look at it now, is there, how do you view it? Do you think, I'm glad I did it when I did? Or do you think, I'd have loved it now with so many more questions? Do you have a kind of sense of, what is your reaction to it as a veteran?
I'm just enjoying watching it and watching people do really well. I think I just wanted to do it sort of early in my degree. I didn't know how sort of my academic trajectory would pan out. I wasn't sure about PhD or anything, so I certainly didn't know whether I was even eligible to apply at sort of this kind of age. But so I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. But I think we got in at a good point, so I had no regrets there.
Yeah, I liked what you said there though about enjoying watching it and seeing people do well. One thing that the improved pace does, it gives more players a chance to shine, more players a chance to get in on the buzzer, more players a chance to have something in bonuses that they've got something to contribute. Now, whether it's that meaningful a difference, I don't know. But I think when you're looking at, we're pushing 20 starters that get converted into bonus sets now, and often previously it might have been 14, 15.
Yeah.
I think the show is definitely better for that, and it'd be interesting to find out whether players kind of value that sort of the ability. I'd certainly want more starters to be having a go at.
Always.
Yeah,
definitely.
Quick Lewis, sorry?
Quick games are good. I say it anytime I play any game. Quick game's a good game. Doesn't matter what the game is. Quick game's a good game, and especially in this when you can get more questions in, which is what it's what you want to watch. You want to watch people answer questions. You want to answer the questions at home. That's the show. There's a reason I think that The Chase is the best popular quiz show on television, because it is absolutely full of questions. That's why it works. And yes, you see, the more questions, the better. I really think.
I mean, apart from the fact that you're thinking it's better than the hit list, I do agree with you on that. And but controversial.
I do love the hit list.
So yes, so we will get to see Emma again, and good team they were, and Harrison superb. I think we should add Harrison to the vote. So
yes, definitely.
If you put Harrison Emmanuel in, because I think those 9 starters were superb. So student quiz bowl. So Michael, you kind of grew up, I guess, playing for Imperial, playing other universities on kind of quiz bowl circuit, and you carried on doing that after you did University Challenge. Now you're involved in the UK Quizbowl organization. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and what it does?
So I think it was a couple of years ago, it used to be the case that sort of student quiz outside of University Challenge was mainly run by a few people at the universities that had a large enough critical mass to do quiz things, and they would just sort of organize a little haphazardly, and mainly took place in the south of England. And then a couple of years ago, as more universities started getting quiz societies, people thought it was a good idea to have a central organization that sort of we organize the tournaments that go on throughout the year, and we sort of put the universities in touch. We coordinate the hosting and how to host the tournaments and prep societies on that. And we also have now started providing resources to societies, and hopefully during my tenure as president, we're also going to be providing a lot more resources to players directly, which should also help more people get into Quizbowl in the first place, and which should also help people who don't have like a regular society to also become involved. So we're really just trying to grow student quiz throughout the UK.
How many institutions kind of take part in your competitions, or in some way or another come into contact with UK Quizbowl over the course of a year?
So I think there's about 10 or so universities that are sort of the mainstay, and I think they're also the larger universities. I think this year we had a pretty significant stat, which was we have the British Student Quizbowl Championships, which is sort of the national competition. And this was the first year since, I think, 2003 that a non-Oxbridge team has won. Imperial won, they cleared the field. In fact, I think they won every single non-novice tournament over the last 7 months, or some insane stat like that. But nowadays, actually, we have a lot more competition at the top. So you have multiple teams from Oxford and Cambridge, and also multiple teams from Imperial. Durham started growing, which obviously I'm very pleased about now that I moved there. We have a lot of teams from Sheffield. Andrew Fisher's doing great work there, and the rest of the team there in really growing. There's loads of new people, and actually we're helping to write a tournament at the moment for novices that come in September, October time to be played in November time. That's actually written by members of the UK Quizbowl, just anyone who's played or continuing to play. And we've had loads of new writers, particularly from Sheffield, Durham, Warwick. Warwick have always been there with at least 2 teams at pretty much every tournament. But we're starting to see more universities come in, even for just one tournament. You have a lot of universities who get on to University Challenge, and then they come and play a couple of tournaments with their University Challenge team. Because the best thing about UK Quizbowl is, unlike University Challenge, where 4 people from each university can play per year, you could theoretically have the entire university playing.
I'd like to see that. That'd be great if a big uni had everyone playing. That'd be a good idea. 30,000 players from one team.
Might be shorter buzzer sets and rooms. But obviously we are not long from kind of the September-October period where universities are starting up again. There may be people watching All Things Quiz who are about to start university and are going to turn up to their freshers' fair, and they're going to be looking for a quiz society. If there isn't a quiz society, what can they do, to help get it going, aside from talking to their students' union? Is there something UK Quizbowl can do to kind of advise them, help them get going?
Well, yeah, actually, I've just started talking to a couple of quizzes who are at KCL about setting up a King's Quizbowl Society, but we have sort of part of our committee is dedicated to communications and outreach, and we have lots of people who've been there and helped grow societies before. So we're just really like a human resource as well. We can help people set up things, share resources of quizzes to give them that they can run, and just share the knowledge and be on hand to answer any questions. But we also have several we have one current Discord server, which in fact anyone watching can join. It's the link is on our website, and you can get involved in Quizbowl. Actually, there's a practice that's sort of run every Mondays, and there's many discussion servers there that are open to absolutely anyone. And we're about to start a new student one, which will be just for people currently at universities, mainly to sort of give people who are novices or want to make the gap beyond novices, or want to participate but find that playing against lots of big names is daunting, that will give them that space as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because obviously I've paid attention for the last few years to what's going on UK Quizbowl. I've also seen what's happened in America. In America, there's been all sorts of challenges / scandals that have happened over there. But you guys are good with safeguarding. You've got a safeguarding officer, and you can advise on a lot of that. I mean, in America, it's they have more formal coaches and training, and it can be like any other kind of varsity sport, and perhaps in most cases not like that here.
Yes, but I hope it's not that intense. I know a couple of Americans have said it's quite a friendly circuit.
Yeah. I did really want to try and get it onto Sheffield Varsity, though. It didn't manage to happen in my time, but I'm hoping that we can destroy Hallam at quiz one day.
and that's, I guess, that comes back to the ambition, Michael. What is the end? What is the vision for UK Quizbowl? What do you want to see happen in UK universities and higher education institutions?
Well, I want anyone that's interested in buzzer quiz to really have the opportunity to participate, regardless of geographically where they are, what financial situation they themselves are in, or their university are in, regardless of background. Quizbowl has a very diverse canon, but it also has more accessible canon in the sense that because of the way the questions are structured, you tend to have more answers coming with more frequency, and it sort of helps you identify what's more famous. But I'm already going on a tangent. Where were we? We were talking about what do we want to see in terms of UK Quizbowl. So sort of access and accessibility to buzzer quiz. And I want to see more societies really bond as teams. I think we're going a long way already over the past few years, but hopefully continuing to make it more of a social atmosphere rather than people just staying within their universities, which they can do at any time really to talk to their other team members. But hopefully to talk between teams and just find out what other people are interested in. I had a big point and I've forgotten it. That's a bad thing.
That's fine. I'm sure it'll come to you. Well, whilst you're thinking on it, Fatima's been chipping in. Fatima, it's me. Hi, I'm the safeguarding officer. Brilliant choice, safeguarding officer. And I love this point. Also, as a Muslim who can't pub quiz, more accessible. And I do think that is one thing that the quiz community hasn't got to grips with. Oops, I keep pressing the wrong thing at the moment, which is broader accessibility issues, and possibly because sometimes we are limited to the venues that are available to us. However, we do, when we hold things in pubs, exclude a number of people. And when we hold them in the upstairs room of a pub, we exclude people with physical disabilities, and perhaps as a sport, for us to really mature, we need to be taking those things into account from the start, particularly when we do something new. It's harder to change the things that have been going a long time, but absolutely great point by Fatima. We need to be thinking about the people who can't attend because of the choices we make.
Michael,
thankfully, I've remembered.
Go on, Michael. I brought you enough
time. So the point was that sort of Quizbowl and student societies have very much been dependent on a couple of people getting the bug for Quizbowl, seeking out the resources themselves and learning how to become really good. And you get really dominant players from some unis, but when they leave, sometimes the societies get weaker. It just happens, and you have more of these cycles. And I'd really want to make sure that basically anyone has the opportunity to make that jump and to want to put the work in, and that the resources come to them rather than they seek the resources, and that you just always have an influx of people who are given multiple opportunities and are offered quizzes that they're interested in. So a variety of levels. We have some tournaments specifically aimed this year at people who are between novice and advanced level, which we didn't really have due to sort of the way the sets were being produced and in the US over the last few years. And hopefully, I've been told I am allowed to say that there is a strong possibility of a UK Quizbowl backed pop culture tournament, mainly being written by people, I think, in Warwick and Sheffield, that will hopefully be coming sort of in the spring.
Exciting stuff. I mean, great things are happening, and it's really moved on in the last few years. Sounds like it's going to move on further. I don't even know what to make of this point from Oscar. I want quiz to be tax exempted like inter-university sports is, but sounds like a good thing to me. I just don't know enough about it. Catherine, as an autistic person who doesn't often feel safe in pubs, again, another type of person who might feel excluded. And yet, Catherine, you've got a lot to give to the quiz community and given the right circumstances. So let's hope we can make those circumstances happen. I'm trying to work out what's happening between Gerard and
There's Chris. A big thing. So I want to ask Michael. Michael, where do you see Quizbowl within the wider quizzing community? I felt like when I first got into quiz and Quizbowl, very much the same time. I think I did a Quizbowl thing before I did any other sort of like national quiz stuff, which obviously I got more into than I did Quizbowl. I did a bit of Quizbowl, enjoyed it, but it maybe wasn't always for me. I felt there was a bit of a disconnect. I feel that's the wall that's being broken down, and I feel like Quizbowl is becoming an excellent onboarding point into the general quiz universe for people that didn't come through pub quizzes and then sort of and liking TV shows and finding their own path. I think Quizbowl is becoming a really interesting, powerful tool for that. The strength of your team in OQL shows exactly that there's a real crossover that you can do there. I just wanted to see, where do you think of as Quizbowl as a position in quiz in general? Is it something you even think about? Is it a priority to try and get people into quizzing in general? Or is it just while you're at university, while you're doing Quizbowl stuff? But I just wanted to see where you think about that.
Yeah, so I think Quizbowl does occupy a particular niche due to the canon of most tournaments. It is primarily an academic format. There are several reasons for that, and I think that it should be respected that that is often the case because there are many quizzes that don't offer that, and this is something that does. And I think it gets a bad rep in the rest of the quiz community for reasons that I still don't fully understand.
None of us do.
I fully accept that it isn't for everyone. But there are reasons for a lot of the things that people don't like, and I feel that once that there is this activation energy with Quizbowl that it can feel very daunting at first, but once you get into it, there are so many benefits, and it can be so fun because just a few of the things. One is a stat that one of the UK QB committee told me to say, which is that I think every single university team that's won University Challenge since about 2010 has had at least one person who's played Quizbowl on. It gives you valuable experience and it gives you a full day's worth of quiz. The second thing is that canon and the full day's worth of quiz means that if you know about a certain area of a topic, then it's likely to come up at some point. Whereas if you play 1 or 2 or even 8 University Challenge episodes, there's a huge chance that topic just never comes up at all. And it rewards very deep knowledge. So, yes, science also gets a bad rep often on UC, but obviously there are people who do it for their degrees, and you have degree level content that comes in early in the question, and then it becomes more accessible. So I think it caters to a lot of different styles of quizzer, both people with very specific knowledge and people with more general knowledge. But yeah, I think the tie-in with UC does sort of help both communities. The second is that we do have an open circuit due to the nature of needing to reserve sort of the easier tournaments for the students. It does tend to be that the tournaments that are played are quite hard, so that has an even bigger activation energy. But as I said, anyone is welcome to join the main UK Quizbowl server. But there are tournaments that anyone can sign up to regardless of university status, and they're always quite fun. And you can play against anyone, and you can have a real range of experience of teams, and you'll get sorted throughout the day so that you're not always playing against like broken hearts.
It can be demoralizing.
But it's also worth saying that there are other styles of Quizbowl, mainly so there's like the buzzword thing for NAQT, which anyone can access, and you can play that by yourself. You're not really playing against anyone else, you're playing against yourself and how fast you want to be, and they have that for a variety of topics, so it's not just academic. But I also think it can be a jumping off point to other forms of quiz, and similarly, people who've played other quiz formats but want to try Quizbowl are always welcome to.
Yeah, and I brought up this comment from Fatima, which is about how it can broaden horizons. I think it's not just like the competitive aspect of it, but actually the fulfillment you can get from just learning new stuff is good. Yeah. I find it really interesting because when I started quizzing at the top level, it was a separate world, pretty much entirely separate, apart from maybe Ian Bailey, who kind of straddled the two worlds between sort of the Grand Prix and the Quizbowl student circuit. And there'd be a few, David Stainer and his cohort who did University Challenge and then moved over because they liked top level quizzing. But there wasn't really much cross fertilization. I think one of the, I hesitate to say benefits, one of the side effects of the pandemic has been the explosion in Mimir, which I think is a bit of a bridge between Quizbowl and the rest of the quiz world, but in both directions. I think, it's brought a lot of brilliant student quizzes into kind of other types of quiz, but it's brought a lot of more traditional quizzes into contact with quiz bowlers and Quizbowl, and there was QB League for a while, which Chris has mentioned. So I think one of the upshots of that about it really has kind of broken down to a degree. It's still not perfect, but broken down that kind of us and them, which definitely did exist for quite a long time. But I also think, UK Quizbowl, having tournaments, having them open so that, students and non-students can attend some of them, that all helps with that cross-fertilization. So there's a lot of great stuff that's happened in the last few years, caused by the pandemic, but I think, or maybe accelerated by the pandemic. But we're in a great place. And Michael, thanks so much for coming back on the show and talking about Quizbowl. If people want to find out more about Student Quizbowl, where do they go?
We're on Facebook, and I will still call it Twitter, or my brother will call it. And on Instagram. You can reach us on any of those platforms. Probably easiest to drop us a message on Facebook Messenger, or you can get in touch with me, or our communications officer is Ben Russell Jones, and our outreach officers Ali Isotopes, who I believe you will see on TV next week. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know what.
Well, maybe you ought to check, and then maybe you ought to check to see if they're available to come on Quizzy Monday.
Yes, I will ask. But and also people can let us know what they want from us. We had some feedback from quizzes who are involved in Quizbowl tangentially that's been really useful over the years. And for example, I said that a lot of the opens are quite hard and have quite a large activation energy, but aside from all the resources that I've pointed to, if there's enough interest from people we will try and find an easier set for an open if there are people to come and play it. So
yeah, and I certainly enjoyed a pop culture one in Cambridge a few years ago. It was absolutely brilliant fun. And that was organised by one of the Cambridge colleges. In one of the Cambridge colleges, they all merge into one for me. But
fair enough.
It was one of the more modern ones, but it was great. So we're going to need to close off. But Chris is saying, thanks, Lewis. The Hank.
Hey now,
Larry Sanders. Oh, wonderful. And he also says, great stuff, Michael. I really appreciate the info, and we really do.
Really great, Michael.
Thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for everything you're doing for the quiz community, for Quizbowl, of student quizzing, and let's hope it does keep growing and people are inspired to keep taking it up at a ferociously young age. So by the time they're my vintage, then they are just incredible. Thanks to Lewis for coming on again.
Pleasure.
It's great to have you by my side. Thanks to our guests from earlier. Brilliant to have them on. Thanks to everybody who's been in the chat tonight. Don't forget, if you want to vote. Oh, hang on. So the one thing I have forgotten to do, nearly closed off without doing quiz week. So let me just do this, and then we can go. So blimey, O'Reilly, that was nearly a problem. So last week's Quizzer of the Week was Kevin Ashman, who won the Quest Grand Prix by a country mile and won 4 genres. Xavier Snay from Liberia was second for his performance in a national tournament, and Stanley Wang got a full house and he was third. Team of the Week was Thrifters from Only Connect, REM from Quiz Nations Asia Pacific second, and Christchurch Oxford were third for their University Challenge performance. This week's nominees for Quizzer of the Week: Olav Bjortom, so this is the last minute nominee, won the 6th installment of the Champions Game competition of Knowledge Facts Ladder. Scott Blish, 14 out of 15 in Mimir as well. Jason Butler, Brain of Britain is back, and it was Heat 1 today. And spoiler alert, Jason won it. So well done to
Great
Jason.
Performance from Jason. Really good performance today.
And he's one of the COVID era generation of quizzers, came into it in the last few years, and he's doing fantastically well. And Gavin got 7 out of 8 in OQL USA regions this week. So well done to Anne. Dragan Gulam won the Quiz Diary Round 11. That's the Zadar Quiz League in Croatia, one of their competitions. So he won round 11. Joe Hansen and Ronnie Jackson got QLL Summer League full houses. Darren Monk got something that I can't actually read on my screen. 14 out of 15 in pop solos. So well done to him. That's the pop culture competition in America. Ned Pendleton, QLL Summer League full house. Steve Perry won Quiz Diary Season 1. So while Dragan got the last round of it, Steve Perry won it overall. Jason Stalacci, 14 out of 15 in pop solos. And Jack Wellesby got a QLL Summer League full house. Team of the Week, Eurotrash 2.0, got 2 wins in Quiz League of London Summer Friendly League. well done to them. We saw Emmanuel College, Cambridge tonight win University Challenge. Iowa Caucuses got the top scorers in OQL USA regions so far this month. They do play over the course of a month. And Isotopes were tonight's only Connect winners. So well done to all of those. You can vote at tinyurl.com/QW14 AUG23. Voting is open until Friday when we'll announce the winner. And shout out, Paul Sinha is at the Edinburgh Festival at the moment with his show Poorly Bengali. I saw it in one of the last previews. He's been getting 4-star and above reviews. It's absolutely fantastic, quite brutal in his takedown of some people at times, but well worth seeing if you're in Edinburgh. Also, on a quiz front, Jenny Ryan is there with some sort of show starting in the next few days. Do not have details of it. I think there's singing and all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. I don't think it's like anything we've ever seen before from Jenny. So that will be great. So look out for that if you are up in Edinburgh. And don't forget, you can nominate a quiz or team for Quiz or Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. Nominate by 5 o'clock each Monday. Breaking news. Do I have breaking news? Oh, yes, I do. So open for applications, Collections Online Quiz League. There's one more week to go if you want to play Cockle. Now, Chinese poetry quiz. There's a link on the screen for applying for this show in China. Open to anybody, not just the Chinese, although knowing Chinese and Chinese poetry will help. I believe that the next set of auditions are in the provinces of Shanxi and Shanxi, the very similarly named provinces, and other provinces will be coming up soon. Talking of which, we are working on a video on Chinese provinces that has been written by Huang Yi, one of our Patreon members. Deutschland Cup is open for applications. That's playing this month. Flames is still open. Pop Culture Challenge is still open for applications. And there's a Pop Culture Buzz Quiz, which I believe is full, but you may be able to get on a team. And upcoming events are all listed there. MK Ultra is this weekend. Again, there may well be teams looking for players if you want to go to Milton Keynes and Buzz. We'll be having our members quiz later this month. And to play that, you just need to be a patron. So come along. And there's British Quiz Championships coming up on the 2nd of September. And I won't list everything else. Feel free to screen grab and take note of any of those other competitions. So after that quick gamble through the world of quiz, it is time to say goodbye this time. Boy, I would have been annoyed if I'd have forgotten that. Yes, no, hang on. See, this is the point, Gerard. Is it Shanxi or is it Shanxi? It's both. That was the point I was trying to make. The nominations of the applications are open for both of those provinces. So yes, Gerard, have a go. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Lewis. We will be back next week. As ever, we don't know who our guests will be, but we will do our best to get a great lineup like we've had this week. And we will see you again soon. So until next week, have a great week.